Welcome, Roman Rhodes Podcast. I'm Rhodes.
And I'm Roman.
And this is another medley.
Medley.
You said podcast.
I don't care. People get it. We're gonna talk about beer.
Beer, yes.
Yeah, ye olden beer. Do you know where beer came from?
Wasn't it the Egyptians that brewed beer first?
Original beer brewers.
Yeah.
So supposedly, from what I heard, beer throughout the ages has basically been a way to sort of purify water. Before we knew that you could just heat it up and make it delicious. Also, it was food. It was nutrients because it was like bread. It was basically liquid bread.
Okay, all right. Yes.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah, think about it too. A lot of places, somebody talked about also wine. It was a good way to get liquid without our hydration, without worrying about getting poisoned by the water, because the stuff in the wine or that makes it turns it into alcohol, basically fermenting. The fermentation kills a lot of bad bacteria in there. That's why, like, during Jesus drank the wine, and people are like, why would he drink wine in the desert? It's to stay hydrated. Yeah. Because you can't trust the water back then, especially it would have sand in it all the time.
And it's called mud.
And I know too. Yeah. Was it? Didn't the monks, weren't they kind of known for brewing beer as
yes.
well?
There's some monks that are known for making beer. They were brewers, and I'm sure there's a whole. Is it brandy or is it? There's some kind of alcohol that
I think it's a lot of them.
Are monks? Yeah, they have monks.
Say there's monks that make wine. There's monks that make beer. There's monks that make whiskeys and maybe even tequilas in Mexico. Think about it. Why not?
Maybe. Why no?
Now, why did they do it though? Why did monks did they have to sell it to sustain themselves or what?
I'm not quite sure of the history, but I'll look that up.
Well, because I'm a little confused too about that. I know monk monasteries.
I know
hermitages.
Yes,
are monkeys.
They need to. I know that usually the
they're known for different things. Some are singers, some are beerers.
Even the nuns, the convents, they make products in order to sell, in order just to sustain themselves.
Really?
There's a big convent here in America that sells organic soap, and that's how they make money in order to sustain themselves.
Unconventional. Fight clubs also.
You don't talk about that.
Okay. Mom, confessional. Sister, is there anything particular? No. Okay.
My goodness.
Yeah, I know. There's they use monks a lot in the advertising for a lot of beers. Is there a problem with that? Do people be like, you shouldn't use monks for that? No, you're cool with it.
Actually, there's now that I think about it, there's some monk, I guess a monastery that they produce cleaning products.
Cool.
But it's all based with vinegar. So I don't know if that has to be some similarity or some kind of.
Okay, I could see that.
I'll look
That's interesting.
But video.
Yeah, so it basically that was one of the reasons it had a true purpose. It wasn't just to get you drunk. That was and also too apparently old school beers, from what I understand, at least in the Middle Ages, had pretty low alcohol content, enough that you'd have to either drink a lot to get you drunk or it wouldn't get you drunk at all. It was basically you was just drinking a shake basically now. And the reason I say a shake is because apparently they had tons of stuff in them, like chunks and bits of barley. I heard that.
So it wasn't really filtered or anything?
No, yeah, actually the point is some guy said he went to an inn, which is where the locals would go to bars, but if you're traveling through towns, you stay at an inn and you don't go to the bar because they would beat you up and highway rob you.
And wait, who is this saying this?
It was a traveler historian or something.
But back in
medieval times.
Oh,
traveled to an age. Yeah, no, I was thinking man, this sounds like something out of Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons. And apparently he saw people drinking with a grimace on their face. And the reason they were grimacing was because they were using it to filter the gunk. They'd smile, grit their teeth, and then drink it to try and filter the gunk in it.
Okay.
And I'm guessing other bits, it was just not every beer was like that. And there was that's why I bet you that's what made the monks sort of popular, is I bet you they were, they could study it a lot more, whereas these inns would just sort of it's people passing through, they're not going to complain about it. And I bet you the beer at the bar or pub was probably a lot better.
And maybe they were not letting it ferment long enough, or
there's a time.
There's a time.
They're probably just rushing it. You don't care as much
into it, because I remember I'm trying to think about the details. So, we went to a beer tasting.
Yeah. Get your skill.
Beer tasting event
Cordon
in
Bleu
Austin.
during
Oktoberfest. Yes, October.
It was
October.
fancy. It was the fanciest thing I'd ever done. I touched real hops.
Yes.
Smelled like flowers. Did not taste like them.
But how did people get to that point to say, okay, we have to put this in order to and understand that? Because it was Egyptians, we said, right? That started. So how did they understand that was the process in order?
I'm assuming it was accident. It was sort of contamination of water storage at first, and maybe I don't know. There's a lot of okay. I know in modern brewing, if you ever buy a kit, you have to constantly filter, heat. And I'm guessing the reason that guy's stuff was chunky, they probably didn't do that enough. Okay. It's probably somebody testing it out and figuring it out. But as far as flavoring and other herbs, now we use hops, which is that particular plant that looks kind of like a tiny leafy acorn. But they're used to use something called Groot. And it's sort of spelled like you sound.
I am
not,
Groot.
Yeah, not R-O-O though. It was like fruit with a G at the beginning. And it's a one particular herb, apparently, a herb, plant, whatever, to flavor it in place of hops. Well, not in place, because before they knew that. But now we sort of use it as a term to mean just like different types of plants. Herbs, yeah, basically. It's like if there was an herb that was called herb or herb, and now we just refer everything as that. It's like allspice or seasonal.
Well, let's isn't the word apple supposed to mean like all fruit?
Is it?
Yeah, something like
I
that.
didn't know that.
And it just became known to
as like that fruit.
That fruit.
It's like if we like grapefruit. How did they get the name for everything in it? You know, it's like why it's like we'll call that a grape. There's already another fruit called grape. We'll call it grapefruit, John. Let's just go. Why are we talking about this stupid thing?
Yeah, yes, because if I remember correctly, an orange didn't get its name from the color. It got its name from the tree. Yeah. So. In Chinese, I believe. Yeah,
it's like light.
Or would be Mandarin.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
Mandarin
oranges, right? Now it's all coming together.
In Mandarin, the word for orange means fruit of the orange tree, because a tree is called the orange tree. And
the color orange was just called like lighter yellow red or something
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be like apple of the orange tree, which means fruit. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Apple, yeah, that is interesting. So the word for orange in Mandarin is
that's
apple
where it gets
of the orange tree, meaning it's mint fruit, because like, that is funny.
Something like that. Yeah. It's very convoluted, but I mean that's where words.
It's language, That's how all language gets formed, man. Yeah. It's dumb. I've heard that there's people who aren't dyslexic. Like some languages don't have as many dyslexics because it's not as dumb as our language. It's basically just because like English is poorly put together. Actually. Big tangent. I started writing differently because I saw I was reading a thing on Reddit about the origin of our alphabet, like where the letters came from, like what they used to look like before, and blah blah blah. And they were asking about the rules, how like, whoa, this one just looks flipped around. And they said, back in the day there was no rules on how to layer it. And I thought like, you could just do it in a direction. But apparently, what it is that the way they would write would be writing one direction, and when they get to the edge of the page, drop down the line
the other way?
and wrote backwards. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And they would just flip the letters. And I was like, at first, it was a little hard to read. But I tried writing it, and it's super easy to do. Like, you'd think it would be way harder.
But
it's super easy to read, too.
But you're writing the words backwards.
You're writing not only the words backwards, but you're also writing the letters backwards. And it's actually super easy.
Really?
Yeah. Like, give it a shot. Go ahead and give it a shot. Write a sentence out, and whenever you drop it down,
if you were to drop it down and let's say the word you're going to write was end, do you put D and then the N, then the E?
No, it would be like, okay, I'm going to use my Bobby, okay? So it's like I finish the sentence, and then I go to the word Bobby. Yeah. I do a capital B backwards. I flip it around. The O stays the same. I write the lowercase B's like D's. And I flip the Y around. Okay. And it sounds complicated, but you're something... maybe it's the way my brain works because I'm dyslexic. It was really easy to go across. And it was like... It makes it so much easier to write, and it's so much easier to read.
I did a few online reading tests or whatever a while back. Where, they have a thing where they substitute... Huh?
Like for fun?
Just for fun. There was one where they do the whole thing where a lot of... Everything's... jumbled up. Yeah. So if let's say the word Bobby, where there it would be like BYOBB. Yeah. But you could still read it as Bobby. So all those.
Because that was a bad example. It was three of the same letter at two other different letters.
Yeah.
What other word does that make? None. Exactly. No. No words does it make.
And there was another one where it was substituting numbers, similar looking numbers for letters, and you could read a whole paragraph like that.
Oh,
and instead of E's, there were 3's. Instead of H's, there were 4's. That
makes sense, yeah.
But then there was also a speed reading thing that I had never... I did above average, which was like, how many words per minute?
They tell you that so you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, I felt really good about myself.
It
was just like flashing the words, like one word at a time.
Did it warn you about epileptics before?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
I'm not prone to seizures or anything.
Yeah, but that's how, like, you don't want to find out when you're by yourself. Oh man, let me take a rest, around all this glass, sharp objects, and pointy ends in the refrigerator. Let's just turn the heat cold up and let's look at a strobe video. How I spend my days.
Yeah.
Were you watching it at work?
No, I wasn't at work.
Oh, thank God, because I know you got that little kitchen. Time. Thank goodness.
Oh yeah. No, but they start you off with just like da-da-da-da, and it just gives you a sentence about whatever.
So it'd be like
like I have a 3-legged cat. I don't know why that sentence was there, but that's the
violence
sentence that came
in
up.
your mind and heart.
And then it would just keep going faster, and be like the apricots are red, and then
this thing was like programming you to be the Manchurian candidate.
It kind of felt something like that, but I was able to understand most of it. Then it had like the extremely fast thing, and I barely I understood what it was trying to say over every other word.
You know what it
but
is?
I didn't get every single word.
You're gonna be crossing the road and you're gonna hear that little chime, ding, 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 and you're just gonna wander the streets for a second and then rip off a cat's leg. And there's some creepy guy in the Pentagon flipping through papers looking for rips off legs. Like,
Frank Sinatra?
It's working pretty good.
Frank Sinatra's gonna come try
that. Lots of cat.
Or Denzel Washington.
Those things specifically. You chase down a cat, and whenever it moves, you see it's already got only 3 legs, and he just seize up. A lot of great points we made there. Lots of awesome ideas, but you might not think so. Let us know what you feel. Please like and share the videos, and you can find more on
Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and here on our YouTube channel.
Thanks, guys.